All right, tonight we have a NewsNation exclusive. 5 women who were formerly incarcerated in California are telling their story of surviving a federal prison so notorious for sexual abuse. It was called the Rape Club. They say they were all assaulted by officers who worked in that prison. And when they tried to report the abuse, they were silenced. Some were thrown into solitary confinement. Others, their release dates were postponed. It was all in an effort, they say, to cover up what was going on. A judge declared a mistrial this week in the case of Daryl Dirty Dick Smith after jurors were unable to reach a verdict. Smith was the last of the 8 officers charged with sex crimes at the now closed Federal Correction Institution, Dublin. The rest of the men have all either pled guilty or were found guilty. Smith may face the most accounts of all the officers, but he has maintained his innocence. NewsNation investigative correspondent Natasha Zouves joins us now. And Natasha, the survivors, these women who spoke to you, say they all plan to attend the second retrial that starts in September because they really want to make sure the public knows what happened.
Yeah, they're ready, Elizabeth. Former inmates telling me the abuse was everywhere, in the cells, the hallways, even the prison church wasn't safe. And at the end of last year, the U.S. government did something unprecedented. They reached a nearly $116 million civil settlement paid out to more than 100 of these women. And now survivors are finally coming forward, as you said, to tell you what happened to them.
This is Mark.
How many of you were sexually assaulted at FCI Dublin? What's going through your mind?
I'm sorry. It's embarrassing to tell people that what we went through is real.
One of the biggest cases of abuse ever at a U.S. prison happened here. And for the first time, we're hearing their stories. These women say at Federal Correctional Institution Dublin, from the guards to the warden, even the prison church wasn't safe. NewsNation spoke to Wendy Ponzo, who alleges that Chaplain James Theodore Highhouse abused her.
4 times. I was 140 pounds when all this occurred. I ate myself up to over 200 pounds. If I figured if I became ugly, nobody else would want me. Nobody else in the prison system would come at me, and that wasn't true. I still don't go to church at all. I don't pick up my Bible. I can't.
The chaplain, who pled guilty to 4 counts of sexual abuse, is one of 8 former FCI Dublin correctional officers charged in federal court for sexually abusing women behind bars. 5 pled guilty, including Chaplain Highhouse, sentenced to 84 months in prison. The warden at the top, Ray J. Garcia, was convicted by a jury and sentenced to 70 months in prison. Yvonne Palmore says she remembers the warden standing over her after she was beaten by a group of guards.
And you woke up and you saw the warden doing what?
Standing over me, filming my body.
Your naked body?
Naked.
And what were the other inmates screaming at you?
He's filming your Miss P, Miss P. And I happened to look up and he's standing over me with this smirk on his face. And I woke up in the hospital, but I had bruises from head to toe, boot prints, actual boot prints on my body for months. So they hid me in the shoe.
What was the longest period of time that you were in solitary?
7.5 months.
And they told your family that you were dead?
I was dead.
Darlene Baker still can't sleep after what happened. In a federal lawsuit filed last June, she claims to have been sexually abused by a medical staff member at FCI Dublin.
What happened?
I get a shot every 2 weeks for a pretty severe autoimmune disorder. And I went in to get my shot, and he said, oh, go on back to where the refrigerator is, into the back medical room. And I didn't know it, but he had then locked the front door, pushed me hard against the wall, and it was a violent type of episode. And I kind of, I don't know, blacked out. And when I came back, when there was knocking on the door and he had finally stopped and my shirt and bra was up to my neck and my pants were down.
She says she tried to report the assault and the retaliation began. Then the day came she was supposed to go home.
Your release was canceled and then extended for 8 months.
Yes.
She says phone calls, emails, and personal visits were cut off. She became determined to be the whistleblower who would bring this all down.
I have a legal background. I'm going to report what I'm seeing.
She did, sending meticulous documentation through another inmate's mail to her family, who sent it to Congresswoman Jackie Speer. Information that would later be critical in building evidence, though that medical staff member is not one of the 8 charged.
I do have really bad nightmares every single night, and I think it's because I know my offender is free.
Because he told you he would find you.
Yeah, and he's still out. There's a whole bunch of them like that.
Kendra Drysdale says she tried to report staff misconduct during a pat-down through what should have been a confidential message to the DOJ. Within an hour, she says she was called into a disciplinary hearing in the prison and was accused of lying.
What do you want to keep? And I'm like, oh my God, please don't take my phone. I talk to my daughter every single day.
So good to see you.
And she said, okay, so we're going to take her phone. And then she said, we're going to take your email, we're going to take your in-person visits, we're going to take your video visits. And then she said, what else can we take from her? And she said, well, let's take her out date.
Let's take her out date.
Let's take her release date.
The California Coalition for Women's Prisoners says Kendra was left in prison for several months past the date she was supposed to go home. The women say the fight isn't over. After a hung jury, Daryl Dirty Dick Smith's new trial will be in September. Inmate Shavira plans to be there to look him in the eye.
Is that what I was sentenced to? Suicide crosses your mind. Depression is a huge issue. How do you tell your family that you're in a federal prison and that the federal government's allowing this to happen?
We are the survivors.
These survivors say that day begins with coming back to where it happened, unbroken, and now you knowing what happened here.
NewsNation for us is very important, and for you guys wanting and willing to put this out there so the people in the world can know. We're very grateful.
We did it, though. We did it. Yeah. Our fight has just begun.
And Elizabeth, Daryl Smith maintains his innocence, and we reached out to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, which said in part it, quote, strongly condemns all forms of sexually abusive behavior and takes seriously our duty to protect the individuals entrusted in our custody. Due to active litigation, we will decline to comment further. But Elizabeth, the women tell us the abuse hasn't ended. The prison was closed last year. 600 women scattered to more than a dozen facilities across the country. Community organizers tell me they are being contacted by these former Dublin inmates. They're reporting food being withheld in retaliation and that sexual assault is continuing in these new facilities. We'll keep on top of this story. Elizabeth.
Yeah, please do. Natasha, great reporting. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.